Hello, my most amazing artists. Today we're going to create a zoomed in nature picture, just like artist Georgia O'Keeffe. Georgia O'Keeffe is known as the mother of modern art and was fascinated by all kinds of natural things like flowers, stones, shells, and as you see right here, leaves. So we're going to be creating our very own zoomed in leaf print with some texture today, simply using a couple materials. So let's see what those materials are. You just simply need paper, crayons, a black crayon, and then if you choose to add some embellishments later at the end of the lesson, such as cutting and gluing it onto a colored piece of paper, or maybe you choose to watercolor, or maybe you choose to leave it right on your black and white. It's really up to you, and you can make that decision when you are finished. So let's get started. First thing I'm going to get is my paper and my crayon. So when we talk about zooming in on something, we talk about getting really close to it. So here are my leaves, and zooming in makes the leaf appear bigger. The closer we get, the more large the leaf gets. And you'll see that it has some unusual texture to it. Almost looks like bumps if you were to put your hand and feel them. Now, the other thing we notice are these veins and the stem. We will be creating with those as well. Now, we're going to have to give the illusion of texture, seeing as though we're having to create it using paper and crayon. So let's talk about how we can do that. First thing, we have to create a leaf. The leaf that you saw was a maple leaf, but today we're going to create an oak leaf. And this is how we're going to do that. I'm going to find the middle of my paper. So you can sometimes do that. Remember our technique of folding the paper in half, or you can just locate the middle and put a dot. And I'm going to put a dot at the bottom. And then I'm going to make a really nice big line that stretches from the top to the bottom. Notice I'm holding my paper like a door, the tall way, and that is so I can make sure that I have my whole paper filled with a really big zoomed in leaf. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create some of those larger veins. And I'm going to do that by making these big diagonals. So I'm going to create one over here, one on this side, and another one over here. 1, 2, 3, 4 on this side maybe. And then we'll do the same 1, 2, 3, 4 on this side. And that will give us our beginnings of our leaf. So now what we're going to do is we're going to create the outer edge of the leaf. And this actually sometimes will seem complicated, but now that we have our veins established, it's not going to be for you. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to just leave a little bit of a finger space all the way around each one of these lines. And by leaving a little space, we're going to have what we call a organic shape. That means the shape is going to look like you would find in nature, nothing super straight or angular, so nothing geometric. So I'm going to start out here, trace around my first line, dip in just a little, back out around the second one, dip in a little bit, back out around the third one, dip right in, and nearing the top here, out and around. See how there's a finger space or so all the way around each of my lines. Now I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I might even want another vein here. So one here, one out here, around again, and down all the way to the bottom. So that is my leaf shape. Now what we're going to do is we're going to create some color and some texture just using our crayons. So I want to show you a couple of different ways, and I'm just going to stretch my lines out a little further. You'll see why we're going to create a different type of texture in each of these leaf segments. So if I reach my black line all the way to the edge, it will help me create some shapes. So here we go. Now I'm thinking about a color. So I can use whatever color crayon I choose If you want to keep it natural leaf colors, you can. If you want to be bold and create some others as well, that is also perfectly fine. So there's a couple of things we can do with crayons. Crayons, you can create lines, you can create some different widths by pressing down a little bit harder or lighter. And sometimes you might even want to use the side of your crayon to create some of your coloring and your shapes. And it depends on what you have underneath your paper as to what texture might come out on top. If you're simply using a desktop, it might be pretty much just the color. If you have something kind of textured underneath, I have some glue bumps and some other things. When I use the side of my crayon, you will see those textures kind of up here like magic. So you can kind of see some different spots in between. So now what I'm going to do is add some other colors. Now there's another way we can add texture, and that is by using the element of pattern. So we can make stripes to create texture. So if I wanted to make this section all stripes, I could do that. And it's going to give it a different look than if I just simply colored it in. So now I can go back and add some more stripes inside. And it gives my leaf some interesting designs and some texture there. Maybe I decide to use a zigzag line. So I could do zigzags all throughout my pattern. So you can notice I'm staying inside the black lines that I created for myself. So there's all my zigzag patterns. And now because I don't like a lot of white space showing, I'm just going to use the side of my crayon to go back over and create that background color. That's another way we can do it. Or you could add something like dots to create some pattern and a different type of texture. Maybe this will feel more like bubble wrap. Imagine what bubble wrap would feel like. You could try, if you have some at home, you can try using it underneath to see what type of pattern you could end up with. There's a lot of different things. You could put a piece of paper towel underneath. You could try something that you find in the kitchen that would be an interesting design or pattern. So I'm just going to continue to fill in my leaf with all sorts of interesting designs and patterns. And when I'm finished, I will have my entire leaf colored in. Notice there's different textures, designs. I even added little tiny lines, kind of gives it like a feathery look. You could do a couple of different things when you're finished. You could cut it out and glue it down, as I did here, and then simply add some designs. I'm just tracing my leaf around the edge. So I'm just adding some tracing lines. Or you could leave your leaf on the white paper and color a beautiful watercolor background on the back. So it's up to you on what you decide to do to finish your project. Just remember, enjoy, keep on creating, and hopefully you liked learning all about Georgia O'Keeffe.